evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you're wondering what I am doing at the top of your screen, Bryson Carver is out, which means the backup is in today. I am Mike Guido, co-founder of the GRYD, also second place on the 8 o'clock spot leaderboard. One of the very few people that I think are warranted in this chair, by the way. We do have four fantastic panelists. First being, maybe, I don't know, could I consider you my arch nemesis at this point? It is the co-founder of the GRYD Network, also the host of the All Even podcast, Barry Grant Jr. Barry, how you doing? The all-time 8 o'clock spot leader, as much as it tastes terrible coming out of my mouth. How are you doing tonight, sir?
You know what's crazy about that is the fact that I am the first six-figure points leader out there. I'm like LeBron. You just continue to just let the record just continue to run. You know, I'm just gonna get it out of reach to the point where by the season, because the season's almost over, people. If you don't realize this, the NBA Finals is getting very, very close, and after that, season's over, and then we got a little break. So I got a little space here to be able to kind of separate from the pack. That's all I'm saying. The snap is always around, baby.
Listen. You're lucky that I was dragged into hosting tonight rather than being a panelist.
Fine.
I would be chasing down that record for you tonight. Our second panelist tonight is none other, appearing on a few iterations of the All Even podcast, known best for that, is Al, the crazy Eagles fan, making his first appearance on the 8 o'clock spot tonight. Al, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm the crazy Knicks fan right now until the football season starts back up. But crazy's always going to sit there and line into it. I'm happy to be a part of the show and hopefully get myself my first couple of points to getting towards those six figures and beating Barry one day.
There you go. See, listen, if we can grow some consistency, I have no doubt that you'd be able to claim that title away from him. You know what? I honestly think Barry's lead was claimed just because he was on the show every week. I think it's just consistency with him. That's all it is.
I think so.
It's longevity. It's nothing that special.
Craig Biggio is in the Hall of Fame because of longevity. Just remember that.
Danny Ollman is back again for his second appearance on the 8 o'clock spot. Danny, how you doing, my friend?
Doing well. What's going on, fellas?
We are doing just great. And again, we're glad to have you once again. And then, what do you know? It is Erik Ruiz who's coming in and making another appearance on the 8 o'clock spot. Erik, how you doing, brother?
Doing well. How you guys doing? It's been a while. Good to see everybody.
We are right and ready to go. So just take a look real quick at the leaderboard here. And as much, like I said, as it disgusts me, Barry Grant Jr. is the first to eclipse 100,000 points with, well, would you look at it? Me right behind him at 86,600. Really kind of burst my bubble there. Alfred Parser Jr., John Rivera, and Dalton Brown, my co-host on the Bicoastal Baseball podcast, round out the top five with Devin Nettles, Adam Bessie, Tim Barnard, over the 20,000 point mark. Dylan Lima, Keith Nandon, EJ Savage, Ryan Flowers, Anthony Bessie, Alex Johnson, Erik Ruiz in there, Eric Van Linton, and Danny Ollman getting himself on the leaderboard as of last week or 2 weeks ago. What was it, Danny? 2 weeks ago? I believe it was.
I think it was last week.
It was last week. It was last week. See, pardon me. So before we get started, let's go over our first round rules. Right now here, listen, by now I would hope you know how this all works, right? You get a great take for 200 points, 100 points for good take, 50 for the okay. And if you deliver a bad take, well, you come home empty-handed with the goose egg. Starting off with our first topic. So the Boston Celtics taking a 1-0 series lead in the Eastern Conference Finals, 133-128 in an overtime game against the Indiana Pacers. You know, and this was an interesting game because I think most people kind of expected Boston to kind of claim this series fairly easily, but this is just not the story of what happened. Jason Tatum with 36 points, Jaylen Brown with 26, Drew Holiday putting up 28 in this game. So, Barry, let me start with you. So, when we were talking about topics, you were even thinking about if the Celtics had gotten exposed in the series, but let me phrase it to you this way. Do you feel more confident in the Pacers today than you did when the series started?
Oh, 100%. I think that The Pacers' style of play is very, very intimidating, right? And I say intimidating just because that they keep coming at you. They play fast. They have guys that have young legs. They can, most of the people, if not every particular person on the lineup or in the rotation at that time, can be able to shoot and stretch the floor. So that causes a lot of chaos offensively, and it causes a lot of chaos for the defense. So what you're going to see in this series is that the Celtics are going to be in a situation that they've never been in before, that they're going to have to play 48 minutes straight of basketball and make sure that they lock in, because there's no slouching with this team. This team wants to score. They want to take the ball out of the rim and they want to run. So if you're not ready for that, it's going to be one of those type of series. We saw what happened in regards to the Knicks. The Knicks were the better team, but the Knicks, attrition-wise, they broke down. And that's what caused the turn of the series. I can kind of see the same thing happening here. Boston has some old legs on that team. You know, Porzingis, if he can come back, they say he might come back for game 4, but you got Al Horford, you got other guys. So if they can be able to withstand those young legs and the pace of that series, you know, they got a shot, but I really do give the Pacers a shot to win the series. I do.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I mean, I think I'm at the point where, I mean, I never really ruled the Pacers out. They are just such a talented offensive team. And as good as Boston is defensively, there's a lot of mismatches in that lineup. Barry Grant Jr., I'm going to give you a great take to start out today. See, first take in my hosting history. Unfortunately, I need to give you a great one, and it pains me. It boils my buns.
You're my guy. All right. You got it. You got to be truthful. That's all it is.
Yeah. Whatever. All right, Al, I'll pose the same question to you as your first 8 o'clock spot question. How do you feel about the series after game 1? Are you giving the Pacers a little bit more credit, a little bit more of a chance in the series than maybe originally before the series started?
Well, before the series started, I gave the Pacers a lot of credit. The Pacers pace their transition, basket to basket, the way that they move the ball around, the way that they play offense has been great the entire season. Halliburton has been on fire since game 5 when they came in. And the Pacers always had a great team. They always had a talented team. I just don't think that they're going to beat Boston. Boston right now, Boston lives and dies by the 3. They went 15-45 in this game. You had, like you said, Tatum 36, Holiday 28, Brown 26. They each had 3 steals in this game. You don't have Porzingis, and you don't have Porzingis yet. So Boston isn't completely what Boston is, and Boston has been one of the top scoring teams this entire season. Like, it's not going up against the Knicks, who are just a really gritty team, getting there but not there yet. Boston is something different. Boston has had the success that they've had over the past couple of years for a very specific reason, and I don't think that Indiana comes in there and does anything to really knock them off. You have Miles Turner, who I believe is the most important player of that team. I think he's a more talented Draymond for Indiana. And like I said, this is probably the worst you're going to get from them. Every single game 2 that Boston played, they lost, but I don't think that happens. This was the game that really Indiana was supposed to steal. Or this is the game that they were supposed to steal coming in, and they didn't. They lost it. They were up until the last couple of minutes. They got sloppy. Halliburton came in there and tried to create a moment for himself with that 3-point shot. And from that, they got sloppy. They had 2 turnovers, and that bled over into OT, and that's why they lost the game. Boston's not gonna sit there and watch what happened and allow that to happen to them again.
Barry Grant Jr., I think you might have some competition in this one, because I will give Al, the crazy Knicks fan, a great take following that. Statistics, analysis. I think he brought it all to the table right there. I think that was fairly solid. All right, Danny, let's move on to you. So what do you make of this series right now? Do you think, listen, this game went to overtime. I think there were a lot of people that said, you know what, the Knicks were down. The Pacers really didn't, they didn't really beat the Knicks. It was more of a failure of the Knicks to stay healthy. And now they go into a series with Boston, where Boston really seems to be the clear favorite. What do you make right now of this series? Are you thinking you're giving Indiana more of a chance here against Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals? Danny, are you with us?
Yo.
There we go.
Hello.
Yep, Danny.
No.
So you need me to so
Yo.
as I was asking before, if Danny, can you hear us? All right, it looks like Danny's having a little bit of trouble getting in from a connection standpoint. So let's move to you, Erik, real quick. So what are you making right now of this series? How do you feel this series is kind of structuring out? And do you give Indiana a little bit better of a chance against Boston than maybe you originally thought?
As a scarred Knicks fan, I'm going to have to give the Pacers their due. We slept on them. We were up 2-0, and we thought everything was sweet. But last night, these guys had Boston on the ropes, and not for that critical era. Things might have went a little bit differently. It may be crazy to say, but I look at this Pacers team the way I looked at the Richard Hamilton, Chauncey Billups-led Pistons. They don't have like a superstar, but they have a good team, and they're coached by Rick Carlisle, who's a veteran coach who did coach that team, and he knows what he's doing with his guys. So, like, I wouldn't rule Indiana out. These guys came back from being down 0-2 and even being down 3-2, and they showed Boston last night. And I know statistically, and the Celtics have been doing great things all season, but this is the playoffs. This is a whole different game. Whether your guys are injured or not, it's about who shows up and who's coming to play. And these guys have been proven it all playoffs longs, and I feel like we need to put some respect on the Pacers' name.
Yeah, I think you're certainly right about that. Listen, the Knicks even were still a good team by the time the Pacers were taking them on, despite all of the injuries. I mean, you could make the argument at this point that Julius Randle was almost a non-factor. He wasn't even really important to the Knicks coming into that series. So I think it's 100% correct that you got to put some respect on the Pacers' name. Erik, I'm going to give you 100 points for a good take on this one. I'm not sure where if we can get Danny in here, but let's give it a shot. Danny, do you have us here, or where are we looking here?
What's going on?
There we go. All right, Danny. So let me pose the question to you again. The Indiana Pacers, how do you feel about them after game one going into overtime? Do you maybe give them a better shot against the Celtics heading into game two?
Honestly, with the Celtics, they got a lot of veterans. They're they still a young team, still building. I just feel like it's gonna be a neck and neck game, like series. So I think I got the Celtics coming out, winning that whole series, because Tatum, Brown, they're doing their thing. What's the kid's name on the Pacers? What's his last name? Hilbert.
Yeah, Tyrese Halliburton. Yep. All right, so we are continuing to have some internet connection issues with Danny Ollman. I'm going to give him an okay take. I'm going to minus some points just for some internet connectivity. And listen, no, Lord knows I've been there, right? I mean, first 8:00 spot in all history, my Wi-Fi totally froze out. I got the nickname Frozone. Glad I'm past that at this point. But okay, so as we move on to our second round rules. Everything is doubled at this point, right? So a great take gets you 400 points. Good take gets you 200. An okay take lands you with 100 points. But again, the same rules apply as the first round. Bad take gives you that goose egg. So we head into the second round covering this. The Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves facing off for the first time tonight in about 10 minutes, really. In the game one of the Western Conference Finals, Minnesota taking down the defending champs, the Denver Nuggets, and Dallas taking down the number one seed Oklahoma City Thunder. Young but energetic team. And listen, Barry, I know that you've had your critiques of Luka Doncic in the past, but here's one of the things that I kind of want to bring up, and I'm going to let Al, kind of continue on this as well. Doesn't it just kind of seem like these teams that have these isolation scorers, they find ways to win in certain ways that maybe are not conventional? So, Al, I think this is an interesting question to have. Who do you right now see as having the advantage in the Western Conference Finals between Minnesota and Dallas?
Minnesota all the way. Minnesota all the way. Like my thing about them is we haven't really seen a team this well defensively stacked, or playing well defensively like this since we had the 03 Pistons. Before that, you could really think about the 95 Bulls and even the Bad Boy Pistons. Minnesota is the #1 ranked defense from this past year. They swept the Suns. Suns were number 10 in scoring. Every single game, the Suns under 100 points. They just beat the Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets has a 3-time MVP, and they have a fantastic team behind them, and they just won last year. They kept them in all 4 of those games that they won under 100 points. You have Rudy Gobert, three-time defensive player of the year, right? Oh no, 4-time now.
Yeah.
4-time defensive player of the year. You have Cat, who doesn't get the respect that he's supposed to get as an interior defensive player. You have Reed, who's really good, and you have McDaniels, who's a hawk. Like, this team and then the other special thing about this team is that they play defense almost like an NBA version of what Bill Belichick was doing with his NFL defenses, where whatever your biggest weakness is, they're going to expose that, and whatever your strength is, they're going to attack that. They're one of the only people who are still doing a full press right now in the NBA. And while you have Kyrie and you have Luka, who are phenomenal guards, I don't know what they're going to be able to really do against the defense. And then on top of that, Ant-Man might be my favorite player in the NBA right now. Like, he's looking like the young Kobe. And I pray to God that he never gets any kind of media training.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you bring up a lot of good points there, Al. I think that really, I mean, you can people get so offended, right? Because all the Jordan stands are all just like, oh, how could you compare? Like, they do kind of look similar. I mean, I don't know that you can really say that. They wear the sleeves in the same spot. It's unbelievable what they do. But listen, I said from the beginning, even before the Nuggets Timberwolves series, I figured that Minnesota was their worst matchup just because of how good they are defensively and the size that they can stack up against Jokic and all of that stuff. Al, the crazy Knicks fan, I'm going to give you another great take, buddy. I think this was very, very well rounded. An excruciatingly hot start to his 8 o'clock spot career. As we go to Erik Ruiz, I'm going to pose the same question. Who do you think has the advantage between the Minnesota Timberwolves, who just took down the defending champs, and the Dallas Mavericks, who just took down the #1 seeded Oklahoma City Thunder?
Yeah, absolutely. Minnesota does. They have all the momentum going for you. They came back from historically the most points down in any game and overcame that and beat the reigning champs. You got to give them their respect off of that. And, as he mentioned, everybody had the Suns given they were the paper champions at the beginning of the season, the 10th best scoring team, and they handled them very easy. They swept them. They got them out of here quick. So if people are not on this train, then they've missed the boat, because the Minnesota Timberwolves have been proving themselves all year round. Well-constructed team. They have, you could argue, 3 of those guys could be on the all-defensive team. And, of course, they have the 6th man of the year with Naz Reid. So, it's looking like they might run away with this whole thing.
Yeah. No, it's certainly interesting. I mean, could you imagine a world where we actually finally see a Minnesota Timberwolves NBA champion? I don't think that anybody would have expected that coming into the season, even regardless of the emergence of their young talent, them trading for Gobert, trying to kind of reinforce this roster. Erik Ruiz, I'm going to give you a good take, sir. Put you at 300 points, right behind Al, the crazy Knicks fan. So are we here with Danny Ollman? Is Danny able to come in at this point? Because it is his turn. I don't want to completely eliminate him from the contest. Danny, are you here with us, buddy?
Yes.
He is. There he is.
I'm back, guys. I'm back.
We are here. So, Wi-Fi. Hopefully that's not an issue anymore. We can get this guy some clean takes. So, Danny, here we go, buddy. The Minnesota Timberwolves, Dallas Mavericks. Who do you like in the series? Who do you think has the advantage in the Western Conference Finals?
Anything is possible, man. That's going to be another good series, too. I want to go with the Mavs. Only reason why I say the Mavs because, Kyrie's really balling. He's being a real vet.
Yep.
Luka, he's being the little brother to Kyrie, following his footsteps, what he got to do. Timberwolves and man, he's really a legend, man. Like, he's really doing his thing as well. So it's neck and neck right now with that series. Right now.
Yeah, no, I think you make a good point, Danny. I think one of the things that gets lost in the series is the veteran presence of Kyrie Irving, which was the first thing you alluded to. I'm going to give you a good take here. 250 points for Danny Ollman coming out of round 2. Barry Grant Jr. So what do we make at this point? I mean, off air, you kind of expressed your displeasure for potentially an Indiana Pacers, Minnesota Timberwolves NBA Finals. But who do you like in the Western Conference Finals at this point, Dallas or Minnesota?
I'm going to go the complete opposite of what my counterparts have done. They've all made great takes, but I'm going the opposite way. In another way, though, I do still think that Minnesota has the advantage because of the length, because of the defense, because of the talent that they have. However, in a series like this, where things are a little bit matched up wise, you got Gafford, Gobert, you have things that are very stylistically similar. Kyrie being a finisher matters. What's his name? Anthony Edwards. He hasn't been here in this situation. He's been great so far. He's had, some of the most impressive games in the playoffs, 40-point games, all of these things. Kyrie is 14-0 in closeout games. This is a guy that's been here before. This is a guy that understands how to be able to get through a defense that has these walls up. So I still think Minnesota has the edge, but I don't think that it's this colossal mismatch that everybody thinks it is. It's going to be a very, very interesting series because of the dynamic of Kyrie Irving. I think Kyrie is going to be the deciding factor and the X factor in the series for both sides. And if Kyrie has a good series, I definitely do believe that the Mavs have a better chance at winning. But I still do give Minnesota the advantage because, they're just, but you know what? I take it back. I'm sorry. I can't do that because Rudy Gobert is on the team. Can't do it. Rudy Gobert is on the team. Can't do it. So, yeah, I got the Mavs winning this damn series. I got the Mavs winning. That's what I'm saying.
See, that's what I find confusing about you, right? Because didn't you say, and listen, I'll give you a chance to expand on this because I know you made the point on this on your show. And this is outside of points territory. Your score has already been recorded.
Yeah.
But I do kind of want to point this out. You did say that Luka's style of play, and I actually agree with you, Luka's style of play is not really conducive into winning championships. Do you think that Rudy Gobert's mere presence on the team negates all of that? Now Dallas is going to the NBA Finals in your mind.
As bad as Rudy Gobert is, I still think that Luka really has to figure out, he has to look around and say, if he does less, I think the Mavs will get more out of that team. That's all I said. I think he's a great player. I just think that he does too much. And you see that he's actually starting to break down, physically. I think he has an ankle or a knee thing going on right now. He's trying to battle through it. And this is not the series to be limping around. I'm telling you right now. Kyrie is the one that really carried that series in their last round. So, we'll see. But,
So that earns you a good take here, Barry Grant Jr. Puts you in second place at the moment, 400 points, only behind Al, the crazy Knicks fan. We will move to the third round shortly. Just let's go through some comments first, because I do find it interesting on who is chiming in at this point.
The maniac?
John Baptiste. Rudy, love him putting them French crumpets on them boys out there. Depoy with the defensive player of the year. Can't wait to hear Barry's hating ass take. And he says Cat is the X factor for sure. We have any thoughts on that, fellas? Maybe Karl Anthony Towns making a difference in this series. Maybe
I say it's Kyrie, but I think Cat can be an X factor as well. I think Cat was the unsung hero against Denver, against Jokic. I think he played great defense against Jokic and really tired his ass out. So yeah, I can see that happening as well.
Yeah, Cat. Yeah, I'm with Cat as well. Like I said before, his interior defensive play doesn't really get the respect that it's supposed to. And if like my man Ant said, if he could stop effing fouling, it's gonna be amazing. He's gonna be able to stay out there and really do some damage. I really, really think Minnesota's gonna go away with this.
Yeah, no, I think Minnesota's gonna come away with it too. I think it's really interesting how much of and really maybe it hasn't been as much as it shows on paper. But one of the reasons that Minnesota brought Rudy Gobert in was because Karl Anthony Towns was such a defensive liability on the inside. Since he's really moved down to a power forward sort of spot, that the defense has improved. He's got size advantage in a lot of matchups. He's able to kind of drift into the paint instead of just kind of anchoring it. I think it really comes in handy for him. Let's move on to the third round. And as we see here, once again, everything gets doubled. And this could be make or break here, fellas. So great take right now gives you 800 points. This round could really change everything. Good take, 400. Okay take with 200. And a bad take, once again, you come home empty-handed. To the WNBA, Caitlin Clark, right now, obviously the number 1 overall pick in the WNBA draft by the Indiana Fever, has struggled to start her WNBA career. 17 points a game. The numbers are not terrible, but 17 points a game, 5.5 assists, 4 rebounds, shooting just 41% from the field, and the three-point percentage about 34%. I think people were sort of expecting a little bit more. Even heard LeBron say at certain points, hey, listen, man, I don't know why we're bagging on this kid. All she's trying to do is make a career for herself. And so it is kind of an interesting point. Erik, I'm going to start with you. Are people making too much right now of Caitlin Clark's early career struggle?
Oh, absolutely. They definitely are. I mean, they played against the Eastern Conference champions at Liberty, and she got thrown to the floor. And that's welcome to the WNBA moment right there. Yeah, she's going to be good. She's definitely proven in college and everything. I know that the professional game is a different speed, but she has all the tools. We've seen it before, and it takes time. And it's not just her. There's other athletes that became superstars and had slow starts. I mean, look at Giannis. Giannis wasn't even averaging no more than 10 points a game when he first came in the league. And yeah, that's the men's game and stuff, but this is still basketball here. Like I said, it's still the professional. So, I think we should cut her a little more slack. And as you mentioned, Mike, that her numbers aren't even really that bad. It's just everybody's expecting this girl to like dunk or something or put it through the roof. But, it's still a transition. We're still not even more than 5 or 10 games in. Just give the girl some time, and it's a good thing. I actually really enjoy that that these new crop of females are putting basketball on the map for the women now, so I feel like people just stop hating on her, man. Just be a little more appreciative that the women are getting their fair play.
Hey, well, listen, I think you make a great point at the end when it comes to putting the WNBA on the map, right? I mean, if you would have talked about this 2 or 3 months ago, we're not talking about this on this show, but Caitlin Clark has certainly brought some attention. Erik, I'm going to give you a good take here, brings you up to 700 points for tonight. We'll see if that is good enough to get you into the final round. This is our final round, folks, by the way, with all 4 of our panelists tonight. So a good take there by Erik Ruiz. Danny Ollman, let's see if we can get you back in here.
I'm back.
The man is back. So, Danny, what do you make of this whole Caitlin Clark thing? She has sort of struggled, in a sense, to start her WNBA career. The numbers haven't been great, but certainly not very efficient. Do you think people are kind of taking too much out of this, or do you think that there's an actual issue here maybe with Caitlin Clark's early start?
No, I mean, she's a rookie. She's going to go through her little trials and tribulations in her first year. I mean, she's going to have to, adjust to the system, you know what I'm saying? And I think she's going to be fine. There's really no issue with her.
Yeah. No,
I think more like with her game, she really have to elevate, be really mindful and be very smart, have a real high IQ of the game, That's how I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I think of virtually any rookie in almost any sport is as time goes on, you sort of adjust to the pro game. You get smarter. And I think those are obviously very good tools to have. I'm going to give Danny Ollman an okay take here. Gets him to 450 points. I think that puts Danny Ollman over the 1,000 point mark in just 2 episodes. So Danny Ollman over 1,000 points in his 8 o'clock spot career. Congratulations, my buddy.
Thank you.
As we move to Barry Grant Jr., currently with 400 points on the board. Barry, listen, we've talked about this before. Are people making too much of a big deal of maybe a bit of an underwhelming start to Caitlin Clark's WNBA career?
Well, I mean, you know what type of society that we live in, Mike. We live in a show me now society. We live in a very instant gratification type of society where they see this girl going averaging 40 points a game in college and thinks that that's going to translate into the pros. When you go against kids, you can be able to be the best among children. These are grown ass women that are trying to earn a living. They're trying to earn their spots in the league. They hear all of this hype that's going around this girl, talking about that she's the savior of the league that they've been playing in for 10, 12, 5 years. And they're like, nah, we're going to see exactly what she's about. She's getting everybody's best punch every game that she plays. It's kind of like when Lonzo Ball, obviously it's not the same thing, but remember all the hype around Lonzo. Guys were picking Lonzo Ball up 90 feet. Just because of the hype that his father put around him, right? So it's the same thing, is that when you are this big star and people put this up to you and people put you on this pedestal, people are going to want to see you succeed and many people are going to want to see you fail. And the biggest thing about her is that, look, the 6.5 turnovers are not great, right? You know, she had 10 turnovers in a game one time. The problem that I have with the WNBA and also with Clayton Clark is that she didn't have enough time. She went from playing in the tournament to getting drafted to now she's on the court. Like there needs to be a little bit more time for them to develop and kind of train and get prepared for what's going on. I think she's kind of shell shocked. She'll learn the speed of the game. She'll understand it. And hey, it may take her a full season to get her legs. Sabrina Ionescu took a full season for her to get right, and she got hurt, right? So there's a lot of things that happen. It takes time. Peyton Manning threw 28 interceptions as a rookie. So these things happen. She's going to be fine. She's generating a lot of buzz. There's a lot of endorsements and a lot of eyes on the product right now, whether she succeeds or fails. So she's doing her job, but people just need to cool out and give her a little bit more time before they start to really access her game. You know what I mean?
Very, very discouraging. You know what I mean? It really, really is. Me being the host of this show, there's absolutely nothing that I can do about it as a competitor. Barry Grant, I'm going to give you a great take. 1,200 points for Barry Grant Jr. That locks him in a spot in the final round.
Oh, my God.
No, don't you stop with the whole snap crap. I just stop it. Cut it out. But you bring up a lot of good points. And one of the things that I think that you brought up, there's actually two things that I really liked about your take, was the speed in which you play in the tournament, you get drafted, and then by the snap of your fingers, I mean, you're already on the court. And I think you're right. It is a lot of, fast pace. Everything's coming at you fast, sort of a deal for Caitlin Clark. She didn't really have an off season, right? She didn't have a space between seasons. She's probably running maybe a bit on fumes at this point. But also another point that you brought up that I liked was it kind of seems like, especially with the WNBA itself, we always say that these top women's college players are going to come in and they are going to be the ones that light up the league immediately, right? It was the same thing with Breanna Stewart. It was the same thing with Sabrina Ionescu. It was the same thing with Brittany Griner, right? Like these perceived generational talents in women's basketball are supposed to immediately walk into the WNBA and dominate. And that just doesn't seem to be how it works. Caitlin Clark, obviously, having a little bit more pedigree than I think the others, but certainly a great point right there for Barry Grant Jr. Knocks himself into a great take, puts himself in the final round. Al, the crazy Knicks fan, needing just 200 points, just an okay take to get him in to the final round. So, Al, what do you make of this whole thing? Are people taking too much out of this struggle for Caitlin Clark early on in her WNBA career?
They're making a lot of it, and to be honest with you, if it was any other player who had the statistics that she had right there, outside of maybe her inability to deal with the physicalness of the WNBA and 26 turnovers over these first couple of games, we wouldn't be talking about it. They'd be saying she's having a great rookie season. The only player out of the rookie class that I really think has even a better shooting percentage than her right now is Brink. And she doesn't take as many shots, and she's more known for her defensive play. I actually like her a little bit better than Clark right now and how she's playing. But that's the only player out of all of them, out of the Angel Reeses, out of everybody else. And then Caitlin Clark is coming in. She's coming in with $1 million plus endorsements. #1 draft in the league, this messiah of the WNBA aura around her. And like Barry said, all these other women are sitting there looking at her like, who do you think you are? So from the moment that she steps on the court, she has everybody's A+++ game coming at them, and they're looking to make a point on her. That's why she's getting thrown down. That's why she's dealing with the physicality. That's why everything is so hard for her. And we also have to remember, Indiana was in a position to get her for a specific reason. They weren't as good as a lot of these other teams.
Right.
So I think give her a little bit of space, allow her to get acclimated to the WNBA, and see what she does over the course of an entire season. For us to sit there and write her off before we've even half stepped into the first part of the season is unrealistic.
Man, I will say this. I don't know that I have seen quite a more prepared 8 o'clock spot debut than what we've seen out of Al the Crazy Knicks fan. That is great takes across the board for this guy right now. 1,400 points puts him in the overall lead for tonight. He will be heading to the final round with Barry Grant Jr. You make a bunch of great points, Al. So, unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to our good friends Erik Ruiz and Danny Ollman. Again, congratulations to Danny Ollman for eclipsing 1,000 points. Erik, we appreciate you as always. Any last words, fellas, before we have to say goodbye?
Be great, guys. Be great.
Go Liberty. At WNBA, baby. Go Liberty.
Be great.
Listen, we really fully appreciate these guys for coming in. Thank you to Danny Ollman. Thank you to Erik Ruiz for stopping in. Okay, fellas, I think this is going to be an exciting one. Both of you kind of came full guns a-blazing today between Barry Grant Jr. and Al the Crazy Knicks fan. As we move into the final round, let's remind everybody what the rules are. Winner gets 10,000 points. The loser gets nothing. It is all or nothing. If you win, listen, we like to call it on the grid, entering the 10K club when you win your first episode. Al the Crazy Knicks fan has the chance to do that tonight. So, a bit of an unfortunate topic, I will say this. Inside the NBA, TNT's staple NBA broadcast program is coming to an end after the 24-25 season of the NBA. Ernie Johnson, Kenny the Jet Smith, Charles Barkley, and Shaquille O'Neal will be dispersing from that program. Really, really unfortunate news. So let's try to put a fun spin on it, fellas. So, and this might be a little bit on the spot, but this is what we're here for, guys. This is where champions are made, okay? If you had to pick a cast of 3 or 4 guys to replace, or I shouldn't even say replace, to step in to an inside the NBA type of role, since it is now moving to NBC, anybody in the world, anybody, any personality, any athlete, anything, who would you pick? Barry, I'll start with you. Who would you pick as your new Inside the NBA panel?
Well, I would have Nick Wright to play Ernie Johnson.
Wow.
I think Nick Wright is a very, very clever, funny, just a perfect, catalyst host to be able to kind of spearhead that show. This is gonna be an interesting one. I would have Steven Jackson. I'd have Steven Jackson on that panel because Steven Jackson is just the wild card. So he would be the Charles Barkley in regards to just say what he wants to say. He's going to do what he wants to do. And Steven Jackson's a pretty funny guy. Like, if you really get past all the other stuff, he's really, really funny.
Yeah.
Kenny, somebody to play Kenny. I would like a guy like Rajon Rondo. I think a Rajon Rondo would play Kenny very well. Intelligent guy, can be able to break down film, make sure you see things that other people are not seeing because he's ahead of the game. And for a revolving seat that was the Shaq seat, they had a couple of guys there as guest hosts or whatever it was. But if you're gonna have one particular staple of a guy that played, if I'm going to take a new generation type of player, I would literally I'd take Klay Thompson. I think Klay Thompson
still in the league.
Yeah, but he's about to be out of the league soon, right? Like Shaq. All right, so we're not gonna put Klay. We'll put somebody else that's retired. Give me Gilbert Arenas.
Okay.
Give me Gilbert Arenas. Gilbert Arenas would be a great retiree, just, fun catalyst between him and Steven Jackson. I think that would be a very, very great show. They would have a lot of fun on that show. You're going to get breakdown. You're going to get IQ. You're going to get fun. You're going to get everything that you want to be able to have a fun, interactive, really, really, up-to-date basketball program. So give me that. That's my 4.
All right. So there we go with Barry's group right there. Nick Wright playing Ernie Johnson. That's an interesting one. Has he ever been a studio host like that? I'm not sure he has been.
No, but I think he could be.
So that's interesting. Nick Wright, Gilbert Arenas, Rajon Rondo, and Steven Jackson is your fresh new inside the NBA panel. Man, you know what? I'm going to miss Chuck, man. I think that's the guy I'm going to miss. Who he played for? Oh, my boy. All right, Al, the crazy Knicks fan. Who would you take to, like I said, I don't want to say replace because it sounds too harsh for me. I don't want to replace those guys, but to step into the role of Ernie Johnson, Kenny the Jet Smith, Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal. Who's your new inside the NBA?
I'm a homer for Queens guys and New York guys. But I'd start with Stephen A. And the reason I'd start with Stephen A is because I think he comes as an established brand. And I think Stephen A comes with an established following. And he may not know a lot of things, but he knows basketball. And his contacts and what he's able to talk about and how he's able to break it down in his media savvy as an anchor for a new team would be where I'd start. I know Barry said Steven Jackson, but I think Steven Jackson is just a little too real for me. So I probably scale it back and I take the other side of that podcast and I bring Matt Barnes in. I think he offers a certain authenticity, and I think he offers a certain perspective and realness, and he'll be able to give you that Steven Jackson aura while being a little bit safer for people who may not necessarily be aware of him and aware of his style and everything. Like, everybody's not going to remember he drove over to Derek Fisher's house to go shoot the 5 with him over his baby mom.
Yes, they will.
The next person for my analytics takes, I'd bring in JJ Redick.
Okay.
And then for my personality, I'd bring in Bill Walton.
Oh, that's a good one. Bill
Walton's like 100 years old. He's not getting on nobody's panel.
That's not. Hey, hold on a minute.
Don't hate. That's my wild card.
I love Bill Walton. That's my guy, man.
Bill Walton. You ever heard of a glockenspiel, guys? I mean,
throw it down, big fella. Throw it down.
John Wooden. He's really phenomenal, man. So let's compare these. So, Al, you've got Stephen A. I'm assuming he's the host, right? I'm assuming you got him playing Ernie. So Stephen A., Matt Barnes, JJ Redick, and Bill Walton. That's a great panel. That's a great panel versus Nick Wright, Gilbert Arenas, Rajon Rondo, Steven Jackson. You both make great cases, but there can only be one winner. And the winner is, for the first time in 8 o'clock spot career, Al the Crazy Knicks fan has come home victorious, 11,400 points. He joins the 10K club for the first time in his career. Al, congratulations, buddy.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to get this W over Barry. You know, I came prepared. You know, I didn't want to have to suffer hearing him speak to me about yet another time he's won. So I'm just great. I'm just happy to be here.
It's phenomenal to hear it, Barry. You have any words for our new champion, or for me, who crowned our new champion?
I don't have any words. I think Al was very, very prepared in his debut of the 8 o'clock spot. I'm really, really proud of him. You know, it's my guy, man. I love him to death. You know, I don't need to beat him from pillar to post all the time. You know, he can be able to get a win here and there. There's nothing wrong with it. But hey, listen, you know what this felt like to me? You ever seen a handicap match in wrestling? This is what it felt like to me. I got the host, you know, that's behind me in points. I got another guy that's my arch rival. It is what it is. But the snap was still in the finals. That's the thing about me, is that even if I don't win, I'm going to be one of the final two, and that's always going to be the case. So shouts to Al, shouts to Mike for hosting such a great show, man. Shouts to everybody else, Erik, Danny that came on, and I always have a PSA to end. I want to not shed any negative light on Caitlin Clark, but I'd like to shed some positive light on Aja Wilson. That girl is the best player in the WNBA. She doesn't get enough credit for how much she's dominated the league since she's got in there, right? If everybody wants to talk about who needs to be the spearhead to the next generation, it's that girl right there. She's tough. Multi-time champion, multi-time defensive player of the year, multi-time MVP. This girl she needs to get her respect, right? The other thing that I want to say is, for all of the people that didn't hear my take, please go listen to it about Harrison Butker. For everybody that's offended about somebody having their opinion about what they feel is their view of how things should be, go fuck yourself. And this is a PG program, but I really do mean that, because we have too many people out there that are too fucking sensitive, talking about this guy's a misogynist, he hates women, he's married to one. How can he be misogynist if his wife is okay with it? The people that he spoke to in that particular speech in that academy, 95% of people agree with him. So for him to have his opinion, let him have his opinion. If you agree with him, cool. If you disagree with him, fine. Move the fuck on. And that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. And I think that's very important for everybody to keep in mind. So there we go. I mean, I think I'm at the point now where I can go to bed. I can sleep peacefully tonight, knowing that Barry Grant Jr. didn't win this one. I feel better about that. I really, really do. I appreciate everybody who's tuned in. Again, this was fun, man. I hope I get to host more often.
You were a very good host. I will say that.
Yeah,
you did well. You did well.
Kudos to you today on the
I appreciate it, fellas. I really do appreciate it. But this was fun. Hopefully by next week, I think Bryson's coming back. But every Tuesday or Wednesday, it's going to be Tuesday or Wednesday, 8 o'clock Eastern time on the GRYD Network, on Twitter, on YouTube. You can catch it right here, the 8 o'clock spot, the greatest sports game show in the history of sports broadcasting. So as for our great panelists, thank you to Barry Grant Jr. Thank you to Al, the Crazy Knicks fan, making his 8 o'clock spot debut tonight. I am Mike Guido. We will see you next week.
Peace.